Alright, so here's my first video with audio and the whole shebang. So this one's for you, Dudeberg. Thanks for forcing me into it. This is actually the setup that you were looking for, where you have the lights pulse all the way through in synchronous order, and then everything pulses at the end after a brief second where everything's off. The way I did it was using the same setup that we had from Beeblebum, except combining it with mine and then removing the power on options. So on this one, you actually see I've got a loop that connects this top auto switch, which makes it turn into its own, in a sense, battery or loop. Once it receives power and kicks on like that, it just maintains itself. This setup does not have that loop. So once it does what it's supposed to, it shuts off, which is what you're wanting. So now that we've got it set up to where it can pulse all the way through here by having these auto switches in place, one feeding into the other, and it was a pain to figure it out, I'll tell you the truth. Got a headache last night trying to. And I think I may have gone a little too under on the nip. But anyways, once it's fed through all the auto switches here and pulsed, done as I was saying, it finally comes to this auto switch. Alright, so, of course, I have issues on the first one. Anyways, like I was saying, this auto switch right here, when it gets to here, it feeds up and kicks over to feed the actual pulse for all the lights. But it also feeds up these auto switches. These auto switches are constantly, throughout the whole process, in the off switch, or off position, I should say, until that circuit is hit. Once this circuit is hit, it actually sends a signal here that sends the supply signal needed, or the throughput signal, come over. So it actually kicks on right after this wire, or this input, I should say, is getting ready to kick off, allowing just enough time for an input to come through. As we have installed these auto switches here that maintain their off position, so they receive the first input we start, can't feed back through. So this way the lights maintain the same order or the same pattern that you get them going in, as well as having a pause at the end so that everything can shut off and it can start the sequence over. Not get caught in a loop that ends up turning everything on and just staying on. So now that I've tried to somewhat explain it, how about we watch it, take a look. I'll zoom in. I'll make sure to pause at a good spot and do a slow roll by. That way you can really get everything and take any pictures or do what you need to. Hope this helps and hope you can use it elsewhere. But there are multiple things you can do to where if you don't want this running, like especially for that base with all the doors that you were talking about doing, you could maintain that being shut the whole time that you're gone and make it to where rather than having a power switch here, make it to where it has a proximity switch leading to it, to where it only gets power or only has power for you to start feeding and sending and doing all of its things once you get close to it. In which case, when you're pulling up, it's less rendering. But just some ideas. So we'll go ahead and get this process started and let you see how everything works. As you see, after you do the input, it feeds through and kicks on the auto switches through. And even though it's weird, there's a slight delay between the two inputs that are going to these auto switches that actually are connected to the lights. The signal is there for a long enough time that it can still make the light activate and do what it needs to. So here's your setup. This is how I would take and do it. This gives you what you need, how you're needing it, as far as pulsing down 1 through, or 1, 2, 3, giving all the lights off, and then still giving a pulse of everything on at once. And this can be used with multiple different aspects. Like you were saying with your doors, you could take and have this set up. If you want to, have some that open just whenever the sun opens or comes out, and the rest take and sequence themselves, or yeah, multiple different attitudes or ways to implement this. Hope you enjoy. And these top auto switches up here, the inputs on the very top all connect to the second auto switch set back here. And this first set that actually connects to the light, where it has the center connections, is on the first one. That's how it's able to get all three to pulse at that one time, is by having those all three connected to those two same circuits together. But if you don't have this row of auto switches here set up, as well as this one, it's going to take and run through once, and then the whole thing lights up like a jack-o'-lantern. That's why I kept running into last night. But trial and error. And pause here one more time for you. And then, of course, kill it. Turn it back on. Start it up again, if you want to. Make it do all types of random processes. Like I said, the application to this, now that I've done it, can be really fun. And I hope to see what some of you other builders, especially some of you in the PBF, can do with this. Appreciate everything you guys have done, and this will be my first stream or recording, whatever it is. Thank you guys for being patient with me and all the help.